Hello guys, I'm back from another review on Zebras Mount. What if Belle was overpowered as hell? So, in the last video we talked about how, after the main members of the Loki Familia, like for example Bet and also Eyes would basically come back from their whole meeting with the other, with another, nation slash, town, they would get some rest, except for a few. Apparently, wait for a sec, the guild would basically hear about this, as the guild would basically ask Loki to bring in a few people to take care of a certain, skull face. So, after being told of this, apparently a new member would be, joining the, Loki Familia. In this case, a girl by the name of Leafia. So, after Leafia was told about, Skullface, which Skullface is pretty infamous in this, world, aka, Belle, which Belle is Skullface. So, yeah. So, apparently, Loki wants to, know how to defeat Skullface as well, so she would basically tell both of her, subordinates, specifically Tiona and Tiona, to basically take care of him, aka, Skullface. So, apparently the guild would basically, tell her that she should probably tell her subordinates to either kill or just capture him. So, after being told of this, both Tiona and Tiona would basically start to go into the dungeon. So, after arriving there, they would see, Belle, aka Skullface, basically killing some of these, goblins and taking away some of their, skills. In this case, by literally eating their flesh. So when Tiona and Tiona saw this, they would be freaked out and also quite disgusted. But Belle would also notice them. So, a fight would ensue, as both of them would basically be almost defeated, but Belle would just be convinced by them to basically just talk. But, well, one of them would basically decide, well, he's distracted, let's just, kick him right in the ass. So, they would basically defeat Belle that way, and they would see his little, ramshackled shack. Not really ramshackled shack. I mean, it's not technically a shack, it's just like, a tent and some other stuff. So, yeah. So, they would decide to bring all of this stuff as well to, to try not and kill this guy, because after being defeated by him, or at least almost, remember, there's still, Amazon, remember, right? And not only that, well, Tiona, aka, the big-chested one, she didn't really have the time to basically get defeated by Finn, so she didn't really have that crush at that point. And so, both of them would basically be defeated by him, or almost, and both of them would realize that he's quite powerful. Enough to make strong babies. So, yeah. So, they would decide to just capture him and not kill him instead. So, yeah. So, after Belle was basically, I guess you can say knocked out, they would basically bring Belle to the guild. And also, Loki is there basically talking with the rest of the, guild members, as they would realize that the, Skullface that they're usually talking about, this monstrous monster that basically killed everybody, that basically stands in his way, well, Skullface was just a normal-ass kid. And not only that, this kid was overpowered. Seen by the face of, seen by the face of Loki, which, when she saw his, skills, or more specifically his, Devour skill, well, she would be impressed, but also scared, because he literally has the ability to basically gain the other abilities of monsters by eating their flesh. So, yeah. So, after telling this to the guild, they would approve of, Loki having him as a new member of her, familia. But Izuku needs to wake up first, so, yeah, Izuku's gonna be, not Izuku, I meant Belle, goddammit, so Belle is gonna be forced to stay in the guild for now, until he wakes up at least. So, after both of them leave, we basically leave Belle at that point. So, yeah, so, that is basically what happened last episode. And so, let's talk about what happens next. So, currently the guild is basically just like, guarding the boy, aka, Bell, and Bell would somewhat wake up. He would hear the noises of some of the people there, saying, "So that's Skullface. I didn't know that he was a damn kid." As well, they would say, "Yeah, and I can't believe he's that powerful." And they would basically start to, start to talk a little bit more and a bit louder as Bell would basically wake up with both of his eyes basically open. As he would start to look around, as he would see that he's not in the dungeon anymore. He would see that some of his weapons are not there, as Bell would start to get a bit worried, as he would start to create, his large claws, and he would start to sprout out the large, serpent-like tail. No, not really serpent-like tail, it's more like a glavenus-type tail, which, if you don't know, which is a monster from Monster Hunter, aka the one that literally has a sword for a tail. So, he would start to get ready for a fight, as some of the guards would basically, or at least some of the guards, or at least, adventurers that decide to, take this job, which is taking care of, Bell while he's basically sleeping, as they would basically open the door, as they would see Bell fully awake, as they would say, "Oh no," as Bell would basically start charging over there, as he would basically just, slam both of them to the ground, as he would start running through the halls, basically trying to escape. He was still wearing, some of his armor. I mean, he's not wearing this part, which is, the red, gauntlet and shoulder pad. And he's not wearing, the, one of his, gloves. So, he's just wearing, some of his armor. Some of it is, in fact, gone. As Bell would basically start roaming through the halls of the, guild, as he would basically look through a window, as he would basically jump. Basically jumping through the window, breaking it. As when the guild realizes that, Bell, aka, Skullface is basically, awake, well, they would basically alert some of the, adventurers to basically try and capture him, but not freaking kill him. So, Bell would basically be on the streets of Arario as he would start to run away into the shadows. So, Bell would start going up into the, roofs of the city as he would basically start to jump through, rooftop to rooftop. And it's currently night, by the way, so, yeah. So, as everybody would start to, hear, several ventures basically trying to follow this, kid, aka Skullface, which currently he's basically jumping from rooftop to rooftop. So, Bell is currently just, going on all fours, basically, jumping rooftop to rooftop, as he would basically see that an adventurer squad is basically right behind him, as he would say, "Hey, Skullface!" As Bell, goddammit, Bell would basically just, growl at them like an animal, as he would start to create two large Hydra-like, heads basically coming out of his back, as he would basically command them to basically get ready to shoot out pure concentrated water, almost similar to a water jet. If you don't know, apparently there's this cannon or whatever it is that literally shoots out a pure concentrated water at full force, to the point that they're able to basically cut through steel. So yeah, just imagine it just like that. Wait for a second. So after shooting that blast of water, which basically is super concentrated to the point that it basically blasts them off, and some even breaking their armor, one of them would basically escape from that blast as he would start shooting out arrows. Bell would basically start going into a, almost like a monster stance as he uses his, sharp glavenus-like tail to basically cut down the arrows as he would start to escape once again. So, as he would say, "God damn it! This damn guy! How is this kid super powerful? I should also get some..." As he would realize that the rest of the Avengers are basically looking at him, as he would say this, "Who are you looking at? We should chase that guy immediately." As he would say, but, as they would start to point at, the rest of his, teammates, which currently they're, embedded into the wall. As he would say this, "Ugh," as he would basically start growling, saying, "God damn it! That damn kid!" So, let's go back to Belle. So, Belle is basically on top of the rooftops, basically just like escaping the place, trying to find a way to go back to, his little home. So, while he's basically jumping from rooftop to rooftop, he would be tackled to the ground, being thrown to the streets of Arario as he would basically go into a battle stance once again, as he would see the same girl from last time, aka Tione, which is the flat-chested one, as she would say this, "Hey, we're not here to kill you or anything, we're just here to talk, okay?" As Belle would basically recognize her, as he would start to growl a little bit more, because he thinks that, she betrayed him, after trusting her, after letting his guard down, as, Belle would basically start to, go on all fours once again, creating several, just imagine like Medusa's hair, but on his, tail. As these serpents would start to, shoot out this poison that's literally super concentrated to the point that it's almost like, well, imagine this. Like they're literally made out of like they're almost like arrows made out of pure poison. As they would be thrown at Tione. Tione would use her, actually, what is her weapon exactly? She would start to use this two-handed but also double-bladed, broadsword, as she would cause all of the arrows to basically just like, bounce off it. As she would say this, "Dang, I almost got killed." As Belle would basically takes up another stance, as he would start charging over there with his claws basically bared at the ready. As he would start slashing at her, as she still blocks every single attack. He would start using his feet once again, as he would basically start, leg sweeping her. As she gets leg sweeped, as Belle would basically get ready to, pulverize her. As he would get shot right in the face by... Wait for a sec. She seems to look like an elf, as she's wearing a green hood with a cape, wearing a white undershirt, and seems to be wielding two swords. She also seems to have large, dark, knee-high boots, as she would say this, "Are you okay?" As she would say this, being Tione, or Tiona, I can't remember, I think it was Tione. So, Tione would say this, "Yeah, I'm okay. Who are you?" As she would say this, "You may call me Ryu. So, this is..." As she would say this, "That's Skullface." As she would say, "So, that's the infamous Skullface, eh? A kid, no less." As he would start to growl once again, basically getting ready to fight her. As she would say this, "Now this will be fun." As she would start to grab her, large swords, as she would basically get ready to fight. So, she would start slashing at, Belle, as Belle would basically start blocking all of the attacks. He would start to charge over there, as he would start growing large horns. As he would start to charge over there, as he almost kind of starts fighting in a similar fighting style to a Minotaur, basically charging in with his horns basically at the ready. So, he would start charging over there as he, bonks his head on the wall, basically making him stuck. He would start, retracting his large horns and instead start creating large armor, almost resembling scales, as these scales would start covering his entire body, almost resembling his, old armor, specifically this one. As Belle would start creating, wait for a second, starts creating large wings, resembling a large bird. As these bird-like wings would be colored, almost like multicolored, each colored similar to a rainbow. As he would start using these feathers as kind of like knives. He would start throwing them at the assailant, which is Ryu, as Ryu would basically, dodge off the way, as she would start charging in, using the feathers as like platforms. She would basically charge in, as he would basically, she would basically slash at, Belle's chest. After getting slashed right in the chest, he would basically fall from the sky, basically damaged, as Belle would basically be growling in pain, as he would start saying, well, not really saying, but more like, kind of gesturing that he's kind of mad at her. But he couldn't because he's a bit, knocked down and also quite tired. As she would say this. So, you must be the famous Skullface, right? Hmm. And I didn't know that you were a kid. Hmm. She would start coming closer to him, as she would start recognizing him as a kind of a cute boy. And yeah, and it seems that all of you guys decided for him to be the ship. So it seems that all of you decide to go for Rio as the ship. And I mean, it's kind of good, but I actually wanted, Leafia to be the ship this time. So yeah, and all of you guys in the comments of this post here, yeah, you guys, well, the reason why I'm not going to make this a freaking harem is because, I already decided to make another, what if about, Izuku having a harem. You probably know which one. The one where Izuku literally has, the abilities of fucking heroic spirits. AKA, what if Deku was the only male, or was the only, boy with a quote-unquote quirk. So, yeah, that's why I'm not gonna be making this a harem, like a harem, what if. So, unfortunately, no. Rio's going to be the actual ship, no other girls, unfortunately. So, yeah. God dang it. God dang it. So, after seeing, Belle basically in this condition, she would basically say this to Belle. Hey, you, Mr. Actually, I don't really know your actual name, so do you have an actual name? As Belle would start to growl a little bit, as she would say, I'm guessing your time there really didn't really change you. In fact, I think you don't even know how to speak, our language. So I should definitely tell somebody to at least teach you how to speak. Anyway, so she would basically start to grab a potion from her backpack as she would basically give it to, Belle. As Belle would basically be healed. Belle would get ready to attack once again as she would basically pin him down with her, strength. Even though Belle is pretty strong, he is still kind of, tired from all the fighting. So, yeah, she would say this. I told you to just settle down. And besides, I just saved you. Or at least kind of. Anyway, so I want you to just settle down and just stay with me. For now. Belle would basically, well, just listen. As she would say this. Good. Now, as she would basically say this to, one of the Loki Familia members. In this case, Tione, which, after Tione basically arrives to their, location where they were fighting, which, apparently, while they were fighting, they were moving everywhere, and so, after he got, slammed, well, they were basically, like, a few, like, blocks away from, Tione, so, Tione would basically have to follow them, as Tione, after seeing, both of them in that situation, she would say, what are you two doing? As she would say this. Oh, here's your target. As she would basically throw, Belle basically to, Tione. As Tione would say this. So what are we gonna do with him? As she would say, I think we need to get some mana suppressing cuffs or something. Or at least something of that sort. As she would basically start to, how do I say this? Starts using, communication magic to basically call up the guild about this. So, after the guild was notified about this, she would basically tell, Tione to go back home to her, Familia, aka the Loki Familia. As she would start to look towards, Belle. As Belle is still kind of hurt, and still kind of weak, and still, quite super tired. As she would basically say this to Belle. So, are you okay enough to walk? Belle would basically start to, try to basically stand up a little bit, but he would basically fall down. As she would say this. I know. she would basically start, um, tell Belle to basically go onto her back. So, after Belle does that, she would basically carry Belle all the way to the guild, which every single person there would basically be like, is she literally, is she really giving a piggyback ride to Skullface? They would basically start to wonder if they're, if they have a bit of a relationship. As one of them would say, I didn't know Skullface has an elf fetish. As one of them would basically start to laugh a little bit after saying that, after that guy said that. As, Ryu would starts to get a little bit angry after hearing that. So, wait for a second. So, after being brought to his little room and also being, trapped in it, more specifically, he was, given, mana suppressing, I guess chains, as he would basically start, calm down a little bit. As one person would basically arrive there. Specifically, a person by the name of, as Ryu would say, Aina. As Aina would say this. So Ryu, so this must be, as she would say this. Yeah, this is Skullface. As she would basically say this. I didn't know that he's, a young boy. Not only that, he seems to be 15. She would basically start to go closer to, Belle, as Belle would start to become wary, as he would, start, backing away, as she would say this. Oh, don't worry, I won't bite. Maybe. She would basically start, become a little bit, how do we see this? Seductive, I guess, as Belle would start to become a little bit even more wary, as she would say this. Anyway, so Ryu, what are we gonna be doing to this kid? As she would say this. Well, apparently the Loki Familia wants him to get ready, because, Loki wants him to join her Familia, and we need him to be in the best condition. More specifically, I want him to, at least to have a bit of smarts, like book smarts and things like that. I mean, he did live in a cave for his whole life, so, as she would say this. Oh, because you want me to do it then. To give him some books, right? As she would say this. Yes. So, after being told of this, both, Aina and also, Ryu would basically start to leave. As Belle would just be left alone in his, little room. So, let's just go to, Aina and also, Ryu's perspective. So, Ryu would basically say this. So, what type of books should we give him? As Aina would say this. Well, I think it's better if we just give him a dictionary book and also ways to basically, pronounce words and also letters, things like that. And she would basically start explaining as, Ryu would say this. Well, that's good, but who's going to be teaching him? As she would say this. Well, isn't that obvious? Well, apparently the, Loki Familia would basically, told me about, a certain thing about you. Apparently, they want you to teach him. As she would basically hear this, as she would say, great. As she would say this, yeah, but, you still have work at, the Hostess of Fertility, and, as she would say this, it's gonna be fine. Besides, she would basically sigh to herself, as she would say, anyway, I'll just be leaving. I need to get some sleep. After all, I had to finish some work as well tomorrow. She would basically start to leave, as Aina would say this. Alright, bye. As she would start to, think that, this kid, he should probably have a name as well. She would start to think, as she would think of some names, as she would settle on this. She would say, how about instead of Skullface, we'll call him Bell. Bell Cornell. So, let's go back to Izuku. Not Izuku, I meant Bell, goddammit! So, Bell is currently just alone in his, little room in the, guild, as he would start to feel a bit sleepy. So, Bell would decide to get some sleep, as Bell would finally go to sleep. So, yeah. So, this is going to be the end of this episode, and so, I hope you liked the video, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!